Hi, this is Ben here at Numbergroup, here to give you another demonstration video on how to set up an additional webhook within your webhook system. Today I'm going to focus on using Desk's API to obtain information from Desk software, which is obviously the support software assigned with Salesforce. So if you use Desk, this video may be some of use to you to demonstrate how you can query your customer database within Desk to obtain information from it and use it within our own system. Okay, so I've gone into my account here first, but the first thing you need to do is basically learn a bit more about how Desk's API works. So I've got the page here. So this obviously gives you an overview of all the different commands within the API. For the sake of this video, we're doing something very simple. So we're going to go to Customers, and we're going to go to Search. Because what essentially we're going to do is we're going to search our customer database based upon the number that is calling into into your account, and then we're going to use that number and search for the information within our Desk environment to see if we have a matching customer. If we have a matching customer, then we'll pull their name from the Desk system, and we'll then use that name to display on our phone as it comes through. Now obviously if it doesn't pull back a result, it will just display the number as normal, but if it does pull back a result, then we'll use that to basically to display on our phone. So you obviously need to have some understanding of how APIs work and so on and so forth, but the actual line we need is this one. So this is the command we need to basically run in order to do our search. So you've got the URL of the API call. Obviously the phone part here is where we'd put our the CLI search that we want to do, but this is the line of code that we need for this particular example. So what I'll do is I'll just grab that for future reference. Okay. What you also need to be aware of is only these roles can do the search. Now that is most people, so if you've got agents on the system and they want to obviously utilize the API call, then they obviously have access to do that. I think this pretty much covers everyone, so I don't think there's anyone, there's any role that can't perform this, but I might be wrong on that, I'm not 100% sure. So that is basically how we can do the search. You can also search upon names, but obviously we won't have any names to start off with based upon the call that's coming in, so the only information we can use to start off with is the phone number. Now, so this is what they'll get. These are obviously other explicit parameters which you can specify, but we're not particularly interested in. So the only one we're going to be using is the phone one. Okay, so next we're going to jump back to the Numbergroup portal. Go to our numbers, go to and we'll have a look at, this is an example I've set up earlier, so basically just to make things a little bit quicker. So you can see in here that I've basically put in the URL that they specified, although I have changed it slightly. Because you need to authenticate yourself when you query the API within Desk systems, you need to supply your username and password, which is this bit here. Now obviously this is a made up one. What you would basically use is your login email address, put a colon between it, and then your password in clear text format. Now one thing I did find with this is that if you have special characters in your password, the API doesn't really like it. So I would advise that if you have like exclamation marks, question marks, hashes, stuff like that at the end of your password, you will have trouble getting this to work. Numbers and letters don't seem to cause any issues though. So if you remember, our initial thing we copied across looked like this. So this part here. Okay. So if you look above here, all you're basically seeing is we've got the name of our desk, which is obviously numbergroup.desk.com, API search, but phone equals, and then you've got this CLI. Now that basically is the variable for the caller line identity. Now if we quickly jump over to the variables page within the support center, I'll put a link to it in the top right hand corner of the screen now, so you can obviously easily link to it. You'll see that you've got a number of variables listed here which you can use within your webhook queries. So CLI is basically the CLI presented on the inbound link, which has been unformatted. So there'll be the original CLI that's presented through to our system when it comes through from our upstream carriers. Okay, so that is basically the caller line identity, or the caller's number. So that is basically what we want to search for. So we'll get rid of this. We don't need that anymore. Okay, so there we are. We have our query there. So this is basically we'll perform the API query and basically search for customers based upon the inbound caller line identity. Now, when the API call returns back, it basically returns a load of text at the bottom. So if we just go to using the API, it'll give you some idea about what will come back. So the responses you'll get are basically, so that you'll get field and then value. Once again, if we go down to customers and search, I believe if we scroll down here, so this is the kind of response you'll get. You'll basically get a lot of text like this coming back into it, but you won't necessarily see this. This will all come back into our system. Now, you need a way to basically extract the information from this text that gets sent back to ourselves to use within your basically within our system. So in order to do that, you need to use what's called regular expressions. Now, I've set here preferred caller name. Now, if you go back to our variables, you'll see preferred caller name. It basically overrides the display name of the call that's coming into your particular trunk or PBX extension, which is basically what we want to do. We want to override the display name with what we get from desk. So we'll jump back here. So we'll say that we're changing our preferred caller name, and it's from the regular expression display name, and then this basically part here. And this basically just means that we're matching everything that comes back within between these two quotation marks in the text. So if we jump back here, you look how you'll see that you've got first name, last name. Now, one thing that doesn't appear on here is complete name, which was it complete name? I can't remember. Display name. So display name is basically the combination of the first name and the last name. So basically, instead of being John Doe, it'll come back saying John Doe with one line. So obviously that would be what you would use to display to within the system, and that's basically what we're looking to pull from the system. So we'll jump back here. So we've got our preferred caller name, and we're basically pulling it from that regular expression. Obviously, make sure you've got all the necessary information configured in there, and click Save. Now, you obviously would need to assign that to the start of your call webhook, because it's important you get that information at the start of your call to obviously ensure that the information is supplied to your phone when it starts ringing. So what will now happen is that when you receive a call coming in to this particular number, in this case this is 0800 number, the webhook will basically query desk, run the query that we've asked it for, and basically query it based upon the telephone number that is calling in. It will then query your customer database and see if there is a matching contact in there which has that telephone number. If there is, it will then refer to the display name field that's brought back to it and pull that out and change the display name within the system based upon the information within desk. And then so when the call comes through to your SIP phone, it will then display that name on there rather than just the caller's generic number. Very, very simple and pretty small thing you can do, but bearing in mind you can pretty much do anything you like within desk via the API. You can update cases, you can add notes, you can delete cases. So there's nothing to stop you, for example, creating a webhook that adds a note onto active cases from a particular customer to say customer called in, and obviously as we give you the option to format the duration and do it and add a time and so on and so forth, there's nothing to say, oh, customer called in at insert time timestamp for the, and basically just add that as a blind note onto your case, and you can do that totally automatically. You don't need to obviously go and do that. So it means if you've got ongoing cases within Desk, you can use the system to automatically update it when a customer calls in with any active cases, and it will update to say, oh, this customer called in at this time, and so you have a note of it within Desk automatically, and you don't need to do anything to do that. All you need to do is remember to set up the webhook and set up the API call to basically do that. If you want information on how to do these things, say this is where you need to go. You need to go onto the API information, it will basically display it. But just for that particular example, for example, you need to go to cases, and we'll go to create note. So basically you essentially just use this particular code here. Obviously you can see that they've obviously changed it slightly, but that is basically what you would need to do. And within the so we'll go back to here. So within the body, this is where you would put the body information that they're basically recepting to here. So you would put that text in there, and that is basically what will be posted back to Desk, and that will obviously then be updated onto any cases. Now you'd obviously need to do away in the fact you would know how to, you would need to basically do an ID or pull the IDs of any cases that that particular person has raised. So you would obviously need to do another API, an API call within the Desk, or within our system, to basically pull back the ID. You would then need to associate that with a variable, which you can do. If we go back here, you can see that you can set variables. So if you want to set an additional variable, you can just add them in here. So if you got this search back from based on the customer's telephone number, you could do ID, for example, from regex, and then basically do a regular expression search based upon the results coming back from your initial search to say, okay, well, I want to set the variable ID and basically set upon that. And then that should then pull any case IDs that obviously that pulls back, which it will do, and obviously then you can use that in future queries and so on and so forth. So as you see, it is quite powerful on how it works, and so on and so forth. And that's pretty much it. Please, if you've enjoyed this video, please comment, and also subscribe for any future videos that come along. If you have any questions or queries, then please use the comments bar below, and obviously I'll get back to you with any questions. Obviously, if you need any help setting up your webhooks, then please email us at support@numbergroup.com.